Hey everyone, Hex here. It's day one of Dominaria United and I'm back in standard playing some good old fashioned mono black aggro. I'm eager to see how all these new cards fare, so let's see how this works on the best of one ladder. So the wait is over, the rotation has happened and we finally get some shiny new cards to use. Our deck has a fair few of them, but we'll start with an old favourite, Liliana of the Veil. She's a 3-mana planeswalker that for +1 each player discards a card. For -2, target player sacks a creature, and for -6, separate target player's permanents into 2 piles. They get to choose which pile to keep and which one to sack. Along with this card, I'm playing 2 copies of the Raven Man for some value. The card says at the beginning of each end step, if a player discards a card, create a 1/1 bird, and for 4 and tap, we can force our opponent to discard a card. This isn't a discard deck, but these cards do work well together. We also have 4 copies of Graveyard Trespasser too, so if the opponent wants to discard a card to remove our Trespasser, we can at least get a bird back. The Raven Man also works well with opponents conniving and discarding cards with blood tokens. Our 1-drops include 4 copies of Evolved Sleeper, an excellent 1/1 human that can be used as a mana sink to evolve it through 3 stages, from a 1/1 to a 2/2, a 2/2 to a 3/3 with Death Touch, and then each activation after that draws us cards, loses us a life, and we get to put a +1 counter on it. We also have 3 copies of Battlefly Swarm. It's just a 1/1 flyer which for a black can give it Death Touch. I'm using it as more of an annoying blocker or discard fodder for Liliana. For 2 mana we have 4 Tenacious Underdogs, which is more discard fodder, and 2 Tainted Adversaries for a late game mana sink, and just another annoying Death Toucher for our opponents to get through. At our top end for 4 mana we have 2 Sheoldred the Apocalypse, a 4/5 with Death Touch that says when you draw a card gain 2 life, whenever an opponent draws a card they lose 2 life. There is a lot of good card draw with blue and conniving at the moment, also blood tokens, so this card is a pretty good 4 mana creature. Removal wise, we have 4 cut downs to clear the way for early attacks, 4 Infernal Grasps and 2 Meathooks. We're playing 26 lands, which can sound excessive, however we can always discard them and I just want to always hit my land drops. So let's jump onto the ladder and see how this gets on day 1 of Dominaria United. Alright, opening hand. And yeah, we have Liliana, which is exactly what I'm looking for here. So day 1 of Dominaria, I'm not really sure what to expect from our opponents. Haven't really seen too many of the streamers online playing these decks in the early access. So our hand here, just a load of new cards. So really excited to play this set. Opponent with lots of colours of land, so they're probably a domain deck. I think we'll just play this slightly slower. So cut down here on the 2/2. See Fable's still around. I mean, I think, yeah, I play Liliana here. It's under no pressure. I mean, the opponent could have some haste creatures, but we can get Liliana down quite quickly. Now, any creature they play now is being threatened to be removed next turn with Liliana's -2 ability. So I'm pretty happy with doing that. Opponent gets to loot away 2 cards. Okay, their graveyard seems full of big creatures, so probably some kind of reanimation deck here. Not entirely, like I said, I'm not entirely sure what cards are being played at the moment. We're just testing the waters today. 4/5 for our opponent. Okay, well we'll just play our own game here. Graveyard Trespasser is great for picking off the Titan from the graveyard, if that's the any kind of reanimation target. Tovolar's Huntmaster is pretty good as well. And like we said before, Liliana can immediately force the opponent to sacrifice their creature. So they do need to deal with the Planeswalker. Fable comes, or becomes a Kiki-Jiki now. Opponent with the Harvester. And another Harvester. I do like the look of these new stained glass lands. So, I mean, they've kind of gone a little bit all out here to not play this Meathook Massacre, so I guess with Liliana you do have to discard cards yourself. I've tried to include some cards in the deck that don't mind too much if they're in the graveyard. I'm going to be playing the Meathook now. So we'll just discard our own Trespasser. I do like having the Infernal Grasp. Like I said, I'm really not sure what the opponent is going to play. And our Evolved Sleeper here is a fantastic one drop that can, throughout time, become much more powerful, but opponent scoops it up with a Meathook anyway. So okay, we're on the play. Opening hand looks pretty good. Couple of Graveyard Trespassers. I think that they've been the best card in, or the best creature in black for a while now. I think everyone's starting to understand how powerful these cards are, especially with a lot of graveyard shenanigans that seem to go on these days in both Standard and Explorer. Just waiting on the opponent to make their decision. So we're going out with our Battlefly Swarm. So I just need some one drops for this deck, and I'm using this card as it's just a bit of an irritating 1/1. It does gain Death Touch if you are willing to play a black mana to do so. So a 1/1 with Death Touch flying is an okay card, I think. I'm sure this will be changed to another one going forward. We don't have Gust or the Eye Twitches, anymore. So the Swarm is going to do in this instance. Opponent, though, with a Delver, which we managed to just kill before it starts becoming too big for us. So another Battlefly here. I'm sure the opponent's wondering what the hell we're doing. I mean, a flying Delver isn't going to want to attack into a Butterfly here with Death Touch, so we're just trying to slow the game down here till we can start drawing some of our better cards. I mean, a 4th land, we can just slam our Trespasser here. Pick out the Delver from the graveyard. And opponent with Lightning Strike. Has to discard a card, so a nice 2-for-1 here. I'm fine with that. We'll just attack with the one Battlefly. The other one can stay on defense, like I said, with Death Touch if this Delver does turn to a 3/2 flyer. Which it does. Play with fire on the top for the opponent. I'm sure they'll just use that card to clear the way anyway. But they are having to use valuable resources here to kill our Trespasser and these Butterflies. So opponent, a little bit mana screwed. Just 2 islands. Not sure too much on what counter spells are available here, but we'll just play this Trespasser again. Opponent will have to play 2 cards to discard to kill this card. To kill this creature. Not going to attack again. If they've got to play with fire, they can waste it on a Battlefly. So I'm sure the opponent's got some big spells in their hand. I haven't really looked at too much of the cards from the other colours at the moment. I just wanted to play with Liliana today and Sheoldred, which is actually in our hand here. So I will be looking to play that next turn. Hopefully we can pay the tax of any counterspell our opponent has, as they're thinking what to do. And yeah, having to waste more spells on a Butterfly, which we can just play next turn anyway. So that was a Fading Hope for our opponent. Let's go right to the top. And get in there for 3. So I'm fine with where we are right now. Cast Down is a great card here, so that can kill any creature with power or toughness equal to 5 or less. So brilliant against this Delver that the opponent has. Just start picking off some of the spells from the graveyard. I'm sure that they can find a way to try and cast those, so that's why the Trespasser's doing quite well. Alright, we'll slam down Sheoldred here. So whenever the opponent wants to draw a card, or does draw a card, they have to take 2 life. Whenever we draw a card, we gain 2 life. And at the end of the day, it's also just a 4/5 Death Touch. So the opponent's under a bit of pressure here to try and remove this card. If they do have draw spells in their hand, they're going to be spending some life drawing cards. And we obviously have the Cast Down. So 1 mana instant to deal with this Delver. Opponent doesn't attack this time. Interesting. We'll just... I think I've been saying cast down. I mean cut down. We'll just cut down this this creature now. And opponent... Okay, Lightning Strike on our Trespasser. Again, another 2-for-1. I'm more than happy with that. And our Sheoldred sticks around. Gain 2 life. And get in there for 4. Coupled with this Tenacious Underdog and another and our Battlefly. So the opponent's under a lot of pressure. We're presenting lethal here. They draw a card, they lose another 2 life. So opponent needs something pretty good here. A board wipe would be nice. Sheoldred can start to take over this game if left alone, and there you go. The opponent scoops it up. They depleted all their resources on the Trespasser, and we can move on to onto our next game here. All right, game number 3, and I like this hand. So we have 2 copies of Cut Down and our Evolved Sleeper. Been excited to play this card since I saw it, really. I love mana sinks. It really gives our opponents a hard time deciding whether to block with creatures and to and how they deal with it, basically. So we'll see what our opponent is playing here. Really enjoyed this first day of Dominaria, though. It's really nice to see new cards, and looking forward to making some new decks here. So I don't really want to play our creature here into a Dimir deck without any kind of follow-up play. So this is one of those situations where I don't see the benefit of playing a Evolved Sleeper straight away. We'll let the opponent try and make the first move here. And they start with a Haughty Djinn. So it's equal to the amount of instants and sorceries in their grave, and we can just cast that down immediately. Okay, we're drawing the second copy of the Evolved Sleeper. Means we can play this one now. I just feel like if we'd played that Evolved Sleeper on turn 1, it would have been removed by them on turn 2 when they played the whole turn without actually doing anything. So we get to level up our Evolved Sleeper as we don't have anything else to do. I like the position we're in at the moment. If we can get this Sheoldred down, pretty sure we can start to run away with the game. More mana. So we're playing 26 lands in this deck. Let's try and make sure we hit our land drops every turn. Liliana does require us to discard a card as well when we up it, so having extra lands in our hand is not a problem anyway. We get in there with our Evolved Sleeper, and we're going to make it a 3/3. Opponent takes it, and we'll play out our other Sleeper here. And opponent returns our Sleeper to our hand. I mean, they could have done that in attacks and not taken 3 damage, but not a problem for us anyway. Right, 5th mana for our opponent. It comes out tapped. I guess one of the advantages of our mono black deck here is that all of our lands are pretty much going to come in untapped. With the rotation, no more creature lands, so we're pretty much playing, I think it's 24 basics and a couple of legendary lands there. So again, it gets to the end of the turn, we haven't anything else to do, but we can sink our mana into Evolved Sleeper here. Giving the opponent something to think about. Our 5th land drop. Okay, so I mean, we do have 3 pieces of removal in our hand, and our opponent isn't actually playing any creatures. So we would like them to play something soon so we can play these cards. They didn't do anything. We'll play out our Sleeper, which they already know about. 6th land for our opponent. And a Tolarian Terror. Costs 1 less for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard with Ward 2. It's a 5/5. Okay, well, glad we've still got 4 mana open because we can grasp that and pay the ward costs. It's the advantage of having an Infernal Grasp as well as the cut down in our deck. 6th land drop for us, and then we can play out our Sheoldred here. The opponent tapped out, and get in there with our sleepers. Hold open our Grasp. Opponent draws a card, lose 2 life. Down to 9. So we're presenting lethal next turn. And they grasp our Sheoldred. They do take 2 damage for that, so down to 7. And we get to evolve our creatures. Not sure which one to evolve specifically here, but the sort of most mana efficient play there is to evolve our larger sleeper. Alright, Tainted Adversary for us, so another decent card to draw early as a Death Toucher, or late to create lots of zombies. So opponent flashes in a 3/2 here, and when it enters the battlefield you get to counter a target spell, ability, or trigger this ability. Or destroy another target creature or planeswalker. Either way we get to draw a card. I guess they're hoping to block the other creature with this as well. So they're hoping for a nice 2-for-1 here, but we do have our cut down here that we can at least ensure that our damage gets through from one of our sleepers. And we can pump this one, evolve it to a 3/3. And hold open Infernal Grasp. So I don't want to get too cheeky and play the Tainted Adversary here. They're actually only on 3 life, so we can just sort of slow roll this. They also only have 2 cards in hand. They have shown they are looking to flash in blocking creatures, so something to be mindful of, but we can't not attack with our creatures here. And they could flash that in whether we were attacking or not, so we get to level up again. It goes to a 4/4. We draw a card and lose a life. Right, 8th land. I think that's 8th land there for us. And just a Battlefly. So we attack, and the opponent flashes in the 3/2 again. Urtai Resurrected. And they go to destroy our creature. We get to draw a card out of it. Another land. Now we do have a lot of mana here, so we get to sink some of it into our Tainted Adversary here. So we're threatening quite a large attack next turn. And play out our Swarm as we don't have anything else in our hands. So we've got 8 damage going through, and opponent scoops it up. I think we just had too much for him at the end, and that mana sink of the Tainted Adversary really worked well. So on to game number 4. Opening hand, game 4, and yeah, this is a mull, I think. Maybe it's a keeper, but who knows. This hand isn't much better, but we've got a couple of Graveyard Trespassers, so we'll keep this. Opponent with opening Delver. Okay, I'm glad we have the cut down in our hand. We'll just deal with this. Deal with this now. Okay, so ideally I'd like a draw a 2-drop here, or maybe another removal for this Delver. Ooh, drew a land. Okay, so maybe our excessive 26 lands are coming back to bite us here. We've definitely lost some tempo here. Worried that we play this Trespasser next turn, they're going to have a lot of mana to deal with it, and then they're going to just be able to keep hitting us with this 3/2. Opponent with their Liliana. And we'll just deal with this aberration right now. So if we do draw a Liliana, we are both going to be forced to discard cards, so it might come down to a top decking situation, but the opponent's able to filter their deck a little bit better than we can. So we're in this situation where they have a Liliana on the battlefield, and we any creature we play, they're going to be able to destroy, but I can't run the risk of this Liliana getting to a 6 loyalty, so we're going to have to run out a creature here for the opponent to destroy. I'm not liking where we are right now. We lost a lot of early tempo play here. Just one of those games. So opponent with a Saga here, and we get to play our other Trespasser, and this time we get to follow it up with another creature. So at least if Liliana wants to minus, we can choose which creature we want to sacrifice, but I'm not expecting her to minus anyway because she's only on 3 loyalty. Opponent is down to 12 lives, so I mean, if we can keep drawing decent cards off the top of our deck, then maybe we can come back into this as they mill themselves for cards. The third chapter of this enchantment, of this saga, found in the third path, exile target instant or sorcery from the graveyard, and they get to play that card this turn. Opponent with a Rona's Vortex, bouncing our Trespasser. Liliana allows us, or Liliana then makes us sacrifice our Trespasser. We just draw a land, and yeah, they're well in control of this game. They get to cast the copy from the graveyard, just to consider. I'm sure they were hoping for something a bit better, but I mean, we don't have anything on the board for them to interact with anyway. And they get to play their Tolarian Terror 5/5 with Ward 2, and Liliana makes us all discard, and we just get a removal we can't do anything about, and I'm going to scoot that up. They got us. We didn't get off to a good start, and we never managed to get back into that game. Okay, game number 5, and okay, 3 creatures here. We'll keep this. We'll lead with our Battlefly. So we don't have a turn 2 play here, unfortunately. Opponent with a Sunset Reverie. So an Esper deck. We get to keep some pressure on here by playing the Trespasser. They may not have played that card if the 2 mana was still, if they'd left 2 mana open. An opponent with the Bank Buster. Excellent way to draw cards. We do have Sheoldred in our hands, so this should force the opponent to make some interesting choices, whether they activate their Bank Buster or not. Alright, down to 18 life for our opponent. They draw a card, lose 2 life. Goes to Knight. Our Trespasser becomes a Glutton, becomes a 4/4. I don't want to overextend here because, again, I'm not sure exactly what the opponent has. We get to eat cards from their graveyard. There isn't anything there. I think they're looking to see if they wanted to crew up the Bank Buster there. So we're just going to hold this Infernal Grasp for any shenanigans like that. And we get to play our other Trespasser out here. Okay, so the opponent plays the Obscura Interceptor. So this is going to connive, which is going to be interesting as Sheoldred is on the battlefield here. So we are going to be, well, they are going to be taking some damage here from the conniving. We'll just destroy that straight away. So as the Interceptor enters the battlefield, they get to bounce one of our creatures. Or bounce the spell, and they just send our Trespasser back to our hand. So they're down to 11 life. Like I said, this Sheoldred is putting in a bit of work here. Yep, hovering over my butterfly, pecking away, doing 1 damage a turn. And they just scoop it up. I'm not sure exactly know what they were trying to do, but I'll take that win. On to the next one. Alright, game number 6 here. And this looks a decent hand. So we'll lead with our sleeper here. Our opponent with a island and another Delver. Seems a popular deck today. We can just attack with the sleeper, let the opponent decide what they want to do. If they want to block, we'll pump. We're going to pump anyway. Comes a 2/2, and then we can play out our land and cut down the opponent's creature. Starting to see there's a lot of instant and sorcery matter cards, I guess, going on here. Hence the Delvers. But opponent playing Mire here, as we have our sleeper ready to attack. And they allow the attack to happen. Just deciding whether to expend some of my mana into this to put some more damage through. They decide to Fading Hope anyway. Then we get to Trespasser here to eat their Delver from their graveyard. And opponent with a Champion of the Perished, okay. And another champion. Well, they're not going to like this turn, I can tell you that. So our old favourite Meathook, still pretty relevant in today's games. We can cast this for X's 2, take out these zombos, and attack with our Trespasser. Just the 1 damage going through here, but we get to eat another champion from their graveyard. And I'm not really sure what the opponent's got here, but our hand is pretty decent here. So they play out their 4th mana and a Puppet Stitcher. Okay, so it's a zombie-themed deck here. Certainly haven't seen that card for a minute. As opponent Fading Hopes our Trespasser. Again, another 2-for-1. And I mean, the card's not even destroyed, it just goes back to our hand, but they have to discard, and they discard a Make Disappear. So Puppet Stitcher out with a 2/2. We can just play our Trespasser again. Eat another creature from the graveyard. And with our open mana, we can cut down the Puppet Stitcher here, gain a life. Yeah, this is working out pretty well. Still no Liliana though. An opponent scoops it up. Okay. Game 6 done. Went 5-1. Alright, 6 games down on the opening day of Dominaria United. And yeah, we went 5-1. So this is a decent deck, I think. I think there's certainly a good starting point to for our mono black aggro deck. Sheoldred worked really well. When we did get to see Liliana in the first game, that worked pretty well, and so did the Trespasser as well. So I do like where we are. We'll just have a little play around with our removal and 1-drops, and I'll keep revisiting this deck to see what happens going forward. But anyway, if you want to subscribe, that would be great. I've got loads more decks coming up over the next few days in both Standard and in Explorer with lots of the new cards. And yeah, this has been great fun, and hope to see you again soon.